Me, go.
All right, everyone, and welcome to the stream. This is Sharing with Shellshock, episode 9, where we're going to be talking about kart racing games. I'm your host, ShellshockPrime, and joining me are 3 guests tonight. To my left, as you can see, it's MMGMike.
Hey, what's up, guys? Good to see you.
And then we have EpicMan next.
Yo, guys, what's going on?
And last but not least, our buddy, MoonlitMaple.
Shell, thanks so much for having me on, and everybody.
Hey, thank you guys for coming on so far. Like, I'm looking forward to talking about kart racing games, which is the current topic for tonight. So, we have a lot of stuff to talk about regarding kart racing games. But before we get started, let's talk about like each other. Like, starting with you, Mike. Since I know you've been on here before, but what type of content do you do?
Well, again, thanks again for having me for the second time here on your channel. But I am a Nintendo/variety streamer. We do a lot of Nintendo games on the channel. In terms of kart racing, I do speedrun Mario Kart and Mickey Speedway USA. I've at least done some speedruns on those games and some other Mario Kart games. And kart racing is kind of like my bread and butter a little bit. But yeah, that's pretty much what's on my end.
Very nice. All right, and then we got 2 new guests for the show. So, EpicMan, you first. You next.
All right. Well, thanks for having me here. I gotta say, I'm very pleasant to be here for the first time in your show. For my content, I would say I am a variety streamer. I do a lot of games from Nintendo on PC, PlayStation, but I do play a lot of Splatoon because I am really fond of the Splatoon series, and Splatoon 3 just came out, so yeah. I'm very fond of that, and I can't wait to play more of it with you guys. But kart racing, honestly, it's pretty much part of the ways of me wanting to play more games when I was a kid, and I would say maybe it is how I got into feeling like I'm a competitive person whenever I want to play with other people, because like other than like fighting games and whatnot, pretty much racing would be something that I like if I want to become serious and just play with anyone who wants to be with me and everything. So yeah, that's all I gotta say for me.
Yep. All right. And MoonlitMaple, what about you?
Well, Shell, again, just thank you so much for having me on. It's great to be on the show, and yeah, I'm MoonlitMaple, variety streamer here on Twitch. I stream all kinds of games, Nintendo, Xbox, PC. Not so much PlayStation, but I do want to try and do a little more with that. And over on my channel, we do various like Let's Plays of different games, weekly multiplayer games with viewers, and just kind of in line with the theme, we have our monthly Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Kart Fest event, where we do a theme every month. Basically just deciding like which is better in like various topics. We've done like cats versus dogs, Coke versus Pepsi. Last month we did pop music versus metal music, and pop ended up winning it in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this upcoming month we have Xbox versus PlayStation, which is going to be crazy. But yeah,
that is definitely
going to be a conflict.
I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, like that is definitely going to be crazy. Like I won't pick my choice just yet. But let's just say I'm looking forward to that Kart Fest.
It's gonna be a good one.
I'm surprised we haven't done it sooner, but yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yeah. All right. So now with that in mind, so we got a couple of topics to talk about regarding kart racers. So let's start with the first one. So what were your first kart racing games? So we're gonna start with you, Mike. What is your first one? Or at least your first experience?
For me, I think my youngest experience I can remember was Super Mario Kart back on the SNES, back when I was like 4 or 5. I know my brother had like a Sega Genesis, and my parents got me the Super Nintendo, so I played a lot of Super Mario Kart, but I don't think I really got like deep into kart racing games until what I consider the golden age of kart racers, which would be on the N64 with, of course, Mario Kart 64, my first love. I'm pretty sure the main reason why I'm even a gamer today, which is pretty much how I got into gaming in general. Like Mario Kart 64 was like my main childhood game, but all the classics on the N64 were kind of where I was at. Mario Kart 64. Mm-hmm. We got Diddy Kong Racing right here, friggin' Mickey Speedway USA, Snowboard Kids. I could keep going on and on, but I think my main start with kart races was the N64, though, basically.
Yeah, that's a good place to start because the N64 had a pretty good amount of kart racing games from that particular time. Yeah.
Hmm.
All right.
Mhm.
What about you, Epic Man? What about you?
All right. Well, I would say I'm in the same boat with Mike in terms of what was first, but actually, because here's the thing. My first is actually the N64 with Mario Kart 64 because it's funny enough when I had the SNES, I completely didn't remember or ever heard of Super Mario Kart at the time. I
Hmm.
just was oblivious with all the other games that were out because my parents only were able to get me certain games because we didn't have a lot of money back then. So I was only be able to get certain games, and luckily I got Mario Kart 64 along with Super Mario 64 and GoldenEye and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's really honestly the first game I ever played where I just felt like it was completely new to me with when it comes to racing. Because I mean, I watched like I guess I would say I watched a little bit of NASCAR when I was a kid, and I've always been fascinated with that. And I always like to I guess, like imagine myself racing in there when it just looks so exciting. So playing Mario Kart was something that got me really into where competitiveness was something that drives me into playing more and more of them. Where I just keep playing all the other Mario Karts that comes out afterwards, which is where like Super Circuit, Double Dash, DS, all the other ones. It's just that for some reason didn't even be able to get to Super Mario Kart at the time until um, when it was out on the Wii's Virtual Console, and that's where I finally managed to look into it. And well, I would say it's a bit dated for what it was for how the game was controlled and the map designs. Even though the map designs are really good,
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that in the later games they really evolved the Mario Kart series with really really interesting tracks and really memorable ones out there. And like I just couldn't help but I can't help but play more and more with Mario Kart. But also I play other ones like CTR, like Crash Team Racing. That really also got me into more and more into racing in general.
Yeah.
And like yeah, it was really good, and I just really love to play more of these with people, and I have, and yeah, that's pretty much how I got into it.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Like the original Crash Team Racing was definitely a really good game. I will say that.
Yes, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So Maple, what about you? What were your first experiences, or at least your first game or your first experience with kart racing?
Yeah, my first experience with kart racing, pretty much in the same boat with Epic and Mike. I unfortunately never had a Super NES, like SNES, like when I was growing up, so I never really got the chance to play Super Mario Kart until much later on with like the Wii U Virtual Console.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my first experience was on the N64 with Mario Kart 64 being like I think probably my very first racing game that I ever played, which still like I still love to this day. And then you got Diddy Kong Racing, which for me is like my personal favorite racing game of all time still, like despite it coming out like what was that, 97? So like
Yeah.
about 25 years ago? Like
Mm-hmm.
fuck.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, just like I forget if it was 96 or 97, but yeah, no.
97.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. The pretty sure it was 97.
I think
Okay, yeah.
that makes
No,
sense.
but still like that game still holds up to this day as just like such a phenomenal game. Like a game that like really could show what you could do beyond just like racing through Grand Prix. Like I love that they had like a full fleshed out adventure mode and everything. But yeah, no, like Mario Kart 64, Diddy Kong Racing, Mickey Speedway USA. And I think around the same time I was also playing some racing games on the Game Boy Color. There was that one Mickey racing game.
Oh yeah, Mickey's Racing Adventure, where you had to like build the train tracks to like get the train to
Yep.
the end.
Oh god, I always had such a hard time with those.
Yeah, same here.
But
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's how I got started, like in gaming in general, honestly, with like those three games on the N64.
Those are some really good games to start with on the N64.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So for me, like my own first experience with kart racing was actually like the most weirdest game. It actually wasn't even a Mario Kart game. Um,
Okay.
There was this game on Sega CD called BC Racers, which is basically like a caveman racing game, which is part of a series of games. Like, there were these platformers called Chuck Rock and Chuck Rock 2, which were on Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo, which weren't really all that great games to begin with. And it had a racing spinoff called BC Racers, and it wasn't good. But that was actually my very first kart racing game I've ever played. Like,
That's really interesting.
yeah, but it's like it's crazy how like that was like where all that started for me. But the first actual Mario Kart that I've ever played was actually Mario Kart 64, believe it or not. People would think that with someone like me that I would have at least have played Super Mario Kart before it, but I played Mario Kart 64 at a Toys R Us. It wasn't out yet, but it was coming out. But they had it on display as like a preview back in like late '96 because the game was coming out, I think, in like 2 months after that. And then what happened is that I played it. Of course, I wasn't good at it at the time, and it was actually the first time I actually got to play an N64. That and also another kiosk that had Mario 64. But Mario Kart 64, I didn't play it again until like '99 when my brother was admitted to the hospital and for asthma, and they had an N64 for people to play, for the kids to play whenever they're sick in the hospital, just to at least pass the time. So
That's nice.
So I played some Mario Kart 64 with him. We did some races, and then we did some battle mode matches, and we had a lot of fun.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah,
No, that's really cool. And like honestly, like I actually kind of share like that same experience that like with Diddy Kong Racing. My first experience playing it was actually at one of those Toys R Us kiosks.
Yep.
Before we ever bought the game.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because Toys R Us, they would always have those kiosks where they would have like N64, like, or well, when I was growing up, like basically anything Nintendo, Sega, or like PlayStation and all that.
Oh yeah.
And they would have like all those games you could just try out before you decide if you want to buy it, or they'll have like those video trailers to show off like what the games are, just to get you invested. And
Oh yeah.
and
Very,
Mario
very
Kart was always a game I would see a lot on like the demo kiosk for N64. So it was nice that they actually did all that. But just that experience alone was the fact that when I first played Mario Kart 64, like I had a blast, and I'm like, I want to play more of these. I really want to play more Mario Kart games, and eventually I have, and still do. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that's my thing. Like Mario Kart 64, like I did go back to play Super Mario Kart, and while I enjoyed it, it's hard to go back because of the fact that they actually crunched the screen up in half, and the other half you would see like the map in the bottom.
Oh yeah.
Or sometimes you would see like the little
Yeah.
camera, like the back view. Sometimes it'll pop up, but. That and the mode 7 really was what got to me, because I felt like it wasn't really handled as well as like F-Zero, for example, but it was still a pretty good game. It was still fun.
That's
Yeah.
understandable.
I mean, like, I was like so fascinated how they make Super Mario Kart as such for just having two screens, because when I play Mario Kart DS, I immediately remind myself about how Super Mario Kart would look like if it was like a DS game. Like, I never thought Nintendo would make something like this where you would have to use the top half for you to drive in, and looking at the bottom half just honestly didn't feel like it was really all that worthy to look into, because you can barely look at where you are completely and to see who is behind you, who is in front of you. Like, I
Yeah.
just didn't think it was all that necessary for a design like that. But I mean, it was a unique one, I will give it that, for seeing the whole map, but it was just something unnecessary. But I mean, I don't mind it, so like, I thought that was pretty, interesting.
I don't know. For me, I always enjoyed the aesthetic of Super Mario Kart with the little racers racing on the bottom screen. And even though like the tracks are definitely like, there's not a lot of themes and whatnot, just the fact that the Mode 7 graphics were done back then to make that possible just shows how far we've come in terms of technology from that back then, how they were able to make that possible.
Oh,
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, honestly, just like, even though I feel like a lot of the Mario Kart games have kind of like evolved like from generation to generation, I feel like Super Mario Kart was just like, it was honestly just like a really beautiful game. Just like it had so much charm with it, with just the looks of it. Like Mike was saying, just like seeing all the characters racing across the minimap on the bottom just kind of added to that charm. The
Yeah.
tunes were really nice, and yeah, no, it's just like where the whole series began, and just Mario Kart's such a fun, accessible game for so many people. Just yeah, it's just a beautiful start to the series.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, like I agree for that. Like it does have this charm. I really liked it for Mario Kart where it just makes you remember it, even though like back then in Smart Kart it was a bit dated for the designs of the cart and how you drive and everything. But it does have its charm where it makes you think of Mario, and I love that for all the Mario Kart games.
Oh
In
yeah.
particular, Super Mario World with like the sprites and everything, it just really calls back to that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're really good with that. It's like what's funny is that Super Mario Kart originally had no Mario characters. It was just going to be like a generic kart racing game, kind of like a tech demo just to show off how things work. But then they just randomly added Mario characters, and then it stuck.
Mhm.
And here we are with 8 Mario Karts plus an updated version, a mobile game, and a couple arcade games.
Yep, and the VR one too. If you guys don't remember that one.
Well, yeah, that you gotta go to
Alright.
Washington for. I still want to try that at some point.
Same
I
here.
would like to try that one if I ever go there.
I would like to try that someday.
Oh yeah, they made Super Mario Kart to kind of rival F-Zero because F-Zero at the time was only meant for single player. They wanted something for multiplayer.
Exactly.
Mhm,
Like
yeah.
to have a 2-player game, but also make it like more accessible
Memorable, so,
and more fun to play.
well, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what they wanted to do. Yeah. But yeah. So those are our own personal experiences, like our first experiences with kart racing, like our first game and how we got into them. So the next topic, and I want to spend a little more time on this one. So favorite kart racing games of all time. We'll start with you, Mike.
Well, that's kind of hard putting me on the spot. It's like asking me who my favorite child would be.
Damn.
Because I mean, they have so many good
God dang it.
choices. Like, you know, Mario Kart 64, of course. Like, I have to put that at the top of my list because, you know, it's where it all started. Like, without Mario Kart 64, I wouldn't be in the gaming as much as I am. You
Yeah.
know, for me, like Mario Kart 64, I feel it had some of the best tracks in the history of the series and whatnot. But in terms of other favorite games, like I know this is a big debate, but I know Diddy Kong Racing is also like a really good one. Also, that like was really still holds a dear place in my heart as well. Because honestly, if you ask me, I mean, I wouldn't go saying this is Mario Kart 64, but Diddy Kong Racing I think has the slightest edge over it because of the adventure mode, and I kind of wish that Mario Kart would end up trying an adventure mode at some point.
I would love that.
Oh,
That
that would
would
be
be
great.
In terms of other games that I think are like right up there, pretty much the entire Mario Kart series in general would kind of be where I'm at least for certain games like Double Dash, 8 Deluxe, especially now we got the booster course pass and all that.
Yep.
Yeah, fair.
Mhm.
And even Mickey Speedway USA, I feel like even that game, like as simple as Mickey Speedway USA is, you know, I actually think that Mickey Speedway USA is aged better than Diddy Kong Racing in certain aspects in terms of like how well the carts control.
I think
Hmm.
I think honestly, like Mickey Speedway USA actually aged better than like both. I will say, even though I know kind of spoilers inside, that's not my turn yet, but just like Diddy Kong Racing is like my personal favorite. But just like I feel like Mickey Speedway USA actually kind of aged better than that game and Mario Kart 64 in terms of the way that the carts handled and everything, and just just like the track layouts on that game were just incredible. Like some of the courses like the Everglades, Miami, Grand Canyon, just like so
Oh
many
no,
great
like
courses.
literally, if you think about Mickey Speedway USA, great track design comes especially from courses like Everglades and Grand Canyon in that game.
Yeah.
And even if I talk about like non-conventional, like technical kart racers in a sense, I actually think Snowboard Kids 2 is still aged really well, and that's like still one of my all-time favorite games if we're going by like non-conventional kart races. Because Snowboard Kids 2 went like all in with the wackiest deck. Like you're just like snowboarding in someone's house at one point. You're snowboarding through a castle, you're hitting each other with parachutes and all these wacky items, and hitting each other with pans. Like, yo, Snowboard Kids is its own breed of kart racer that I still think holds up well today.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Also, hello everybody. Hello,
Well,
hello everybody reading chat.
Welcome, Raiders.
Welcome
Sorry,
and welcome
Cats.
everyone from the raid. Like you came in as we're like doing the podcast right now. we're doing kart racing games. Sherry with Shellshock is back, and we got MMGMike, EpicMan, and MoonlitMaple as our guests. Hope you had a good stream. It's good to see you.
Good stream.
So now, EpicMan, it's your turn. Are your favorites?
All right. So there's two things about when it comes to having a favorite car racing game. One, I have a favorite for nostalgic reasons, where I look back into a game where I just couldn't help but love all over it, even though I have one other favorite that I think is probably the most overall favorites. And one nostalgia reasons favorite I would say is Mario Kart 64 overall, because no matter what, how janky with how things were in Mario Kart 64, where people had problems with how, like, with some of the track designs, like how easily you can be falling off and the driving and the drifting can be a bit finicky. Like how every time you go into Bowser's castle, you always try to stay in the lane when you're going through the bridge and not fall off to the lava. Like you just try not to lean into the left, because if you lean to the left, you're probably going to fall off.
I'll be honest, Bowser's Castle at 64 is like legitimately killed my freaking speedruns. I still hate that track. But anyway, go ahead, finish your thought.
Yeah.
Even if I like hated that course, but I just can't help it because of one other thing that I love about Mario Kart in general, because of the soundtrack. The soundtrack honestly elevates the games so much, because they were so memorable to think about whenever you look into a track like Luigi's Raceway. The songs for the Raceways tracks honestly are probably my most favorite soundtrack of all in Mario Kart's history, in my opinion, because I just love how upbeat it brings in whenever you go into the tracks and just going racing around and just feeling like, man, this is Mario Kart right here. So I say that Mario Kart 64 brought a lot for my childhood to make me appreciate how a game like this would make my childhood amazing. So that would be for that one reason. But the other reason I would say for my overall, and it's probably not going to be a shocker, is going to be Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Because honestly,
Fair.
I've been playing that game a lot since when it was released. And even if I played on the Wii U version, which is the OG Mario Kart 8. But man, that version had its problems, because it was good for the variety of tracks and characters they brought in, even the DLCs, which really were nice. But with the updates, they had a problem where they just messed up with the invincibility whenever you get hit, like in Mario Kart Double Dash, where it makes it feel unfair. But they fixed that in Mario Kart Deluxe, and even with online, they also messed that up where you're trying to collect points where you want to show off how high of a rank you are than anyone. And they messed that up whenever you're in second place. You somehow lose 15 points for no reason, even if you did fine.
Right.
Oh wait, in which game?
In the original Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, they somehow messed that up. But honestly, 8 Deluxe is probably my most favorite because of all the fixes and all the content they're bringing, especially with the booster pass. It's looking like it's going to be, I guess, the best Mario Kart, because they're bringing in so many tracks that you couldn't be able to do, that we didn't even think it's possible. And I'm thrilled. Like I mean, it would have been nice to see, like, if we can get more characters for that game, but I don't know. I think it's fine overall for just having more tracks, even though we've been craving for a new Mario Kart for such a long time.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that game is seriously making bank with how Nintendo, they wanted to keep that up with new fans, which is kind of crazy to me, because I thought they probably already had enough fans to come in and play the game, but so far, no. We're just going to keep riding on the Mario Kart 8 train. So I'm really thrilled to see that we're going to play more of it with everyone here, because we're waiting for more tracks. We already had 2 waves so far, and we're waiting for even more to come out, and I really appreciate to see what else they're going to bring in. So yeah, I'm going to say those are my favorites.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is like one of the greatest selling games of all time. So just like,
I think for a while it's also like the Nintendo Switch's top selling game. So of course, like
that game's going to be supported for a very long time.
Oh, it is. Like,
well, at least until the end of next year when Wave 6 is done.
Yep.
Yeah, and we'll see what they're going to do next. Like, maybe if we can get a number.
I gotta get that Cappy hat. I gotta get that Cappy hat real quick.
Okay.
That Keyblade redeemed. So give me 1 second.
All right. But yeah, like I would love to
And
see
got it.
what else. What do you do? Mario Kart 9 would be an
All right,
amazing thing,
so
but they said they need to
yeah,
make a new
so I
twist of
got
it. But I don't know.
I got the Cappy hat. So
Mhm.
all right,
Hmm.
but yeah, any other thoughts, Epic Man?
No, that's gonna be it. Like I said, nostalgic reasons would be for Mario Kart 64 for me, and the best overall, it's Mario Kart 8 Deluxe because I just like it for how good it feels, like with the controls and the drifting, and yeah, like items are items, you know. What can you do? Like you either get a good one, you get a bad one. It happens to every Mario Kart, so we can't be surprised about what we get to it. But yeah, I say those are my two favorites so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fair.
Hmm.
All right. So, what about you, Maple? What are some of your favorite kart racing games of all time?
Okay, I mentioned it while Mike was giving his answer. My personal favorite kart racer just of all time has to be Diddy Kong Racing. Just like it has like such a like wide variety of characters. It's the one that introduced Banjo, Conker. You got Diddy Kong, Timber, just like so many like great, interesting characters. It introduced like an adventure mode for a kart racer, which was kind of unheard of. Well, except for Crash Team Racing, which did something similar for like around the same time. Actually, were they both the same year when they released? Because
What Crash Team Racing?
I feel like CTR might have been like a year or two later, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was '99, maybe.
okay, because I know it was pretty close. Like I never actually owned a PS1, so I never got a chance to play. I never got
Yeah,
a chance to
CTR came out
play
in
like
'99.
the
Yeah.
okay, the original. Okay. And also,
Hmm.
yep, Shad, high five. No, just
September 30th, 1999. That's when it came out for Crash Team Racing.
like
Yep.
the controls were really great. Like it didn't have the mini turbos, but like it really like encouraged you to like try and take like the proper racing lines, taking advantage of like picking up those bananas for like extra speed. I know the course layouts were maybe like a bit simplistic compared to the likes of Mario Kart 64 and Mickey
Well,
Speedway
yeah, that video
USA.
you showed us said that Diddy Kong Racing,
Yeah.
all of its tracks were basically circles.
Yeah.
But I mean, now
Yeah.
thinking
They
about
say
it,
that.
I mean, it kind of is if you really think about it, but that's still that kind of actually attributes to the other interesting mechanics of Diddy Kong Racing, also like letting go of the A button before hitting the zipper
Yeah,
or
it
any of
has
the
Yeah.
other
so many.
stuff.
It has so many interesting mechanics, and despite them being, just circles, I mean, there's a lot going on in like these courses. You have like a lot of like characters like roaming around in the backgrounds. You have like the dinosaur levels, um, and like just like a lot of like great designs for the courses. They just like look really great for the time when they came out. And then just also like you get so much challenge from just going through the story mode in general. Just like some of the boss races in that, like Mike can agree with me that that octopus boss is tough as hell. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, no, just I gotta say Diddy Kong Racing though, like Mario Kart Double Dash is a very very close second in terms of like favorite kart racers. Just like the special item mechanic, the courses are just like all so great. You got Waluigi Stadium, Yoshi Valley, DK Mountain, just like so many great courses.
Hmm.
And just one of their games since I know Mike was mentioning Snowboard Kids, which I kind of feel like it kind of begs the question like what constitutes being a kart racer. Do you have to have karts in the game for it to be considered a kart racer? Because like
Well, listen, that
Snowboard
was the
Kids.
question. I could go on for hours about the
Yeah,
other
yeah,
games that are kind of like not kart racers, but kart racers.
yeah.
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 No, and just like that, that kind of makes me feel like okay, you know what? If Mike brings up Snowboard Kids, you know what? Maybe I can bring up another game that kind of blurs the lines of kart racers, which
Yeah, I see what you
blur.
did there. I see what you did there, Maple.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
s-
no, I just love
So
blur
that
so
technically
much.
counts as a kart racer. I mean, you have Mario Kart style items. The only difference is that they're real cars. It counts to me, at least.
Yeah, no, I
Mhm.
feel like it kind of counts, but like if you're going if we're strictly saying, like 100% like carts, items, like I guess maybe kind of a toony aesthetic, then I would have to say Diddy Kong Racing. But if we're expanding the definition of a kart racer, I would have to say Blur just cuz like the assortment of items, the way that the cars handled everything, it's such a great game that I wish it didn't I wish it didn't have like the demise that it ultimately succumbed to. It's still alive and well through custom servers, but still great games all around. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was a lot of great racing games all over. And for me, like, I have like a lot of favorites in general. For me, like, Mario Kart 8 to me is my favorite Mario Kart out of all the Mario Karts out there. You have like all these tracks. You have about like let's see. So usually like there would be a total of like 16 tracks for like the new tracks, and then like 16 for retro. But then they added way more, like because the original Mario Kart 8 had DLC. Like there were 2 packs that gave us like 8 tracks each. So that brought it up to about like I think 48.
48.
And then now we're gonna have a total of 96 tracks with all the tracks from the Booster Course Pass. We already got waves 1 and 2 so far.
Which is absolutely bonkers, by the way, because it's never been heard of having nearly 100 tracks.
With most likely wave 3 coming out at some point later this fall. The fact that we actually managed to get this far in a racing game, and the fact that this game has sold so much, plus it's still extremely fun to play, and they're just going to continue to add even more stuff to it, that is beyond like impressive. But I have a lot of other favorites as well. Like Mario Kart Double Dash is like my second favorite of the Mario Kart games. Being able to race with 2 characters at once, the pure chaoticness that game has, especially if you have, like I believe you could do like 4 GameCubes linked up to each other with 2 players each, being able to race. You just cannot get any better than that.
It's still my dream to do that one day.
I mean, when we went to Long Island Metro this year, which was really dope, by the way, like the Eon booth actually had that entire setup, and it's still amazing to see it. You can still do that in 2022.
Like, they had tournaments, like, either every half hour or every hour. People were just playing.
Yeah, every other hour was Mario Kart. Then they had other ones, too. But,
yeah.
Maple, you got to come with us in 2023. You too, Epic, honestly. Both of you ought to go. And
you guys should.
I need to plan. I really need to plan on doing that, because I would have gone for it this year, but I was really busy at the time, so I couldn't. But I want to really go with you guys to check out the place, because you guys always say that it's amazing, and I've seen some of the pictures. And I really love to go there.
We really mean it, though.
Seeing Double Dash on the land is like wild to still see.
Like, just have all that, like people still playing it, even people who have never played the game before, playing it for the first time, and they loved it to the point where they want to keep going back for more. Having all these characters, having all these stages, and the battle mode. Like, the battle mode had a GameCube as a track, as a track you can battle against.
Oh yeah.
And they did a similar thing in Mario Kart DS, where instead of a GameCube, it was a Nintendo DS,
which is really good.
And yeah, Mario Kart DS was definitely another one. Like, but for me, I will say Mario Kart 7 has a lot of good tracks, but it easily has probably, like, in my personal opinion, the best Rainbow Road in the entire series, where you're racing on that moon. Like, 3 sections of the moon is incredible, and I hope they bring that into Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for the Booster Course Pass.
Well, I mean, the Moon Cup is coming up at Wave 3, so I mean, who knows? Maybe I might be.
I hope so. I feel like 7's Rainbow Road has to be somewhere on there. It would be a major disappointment if we didn't get it. I'm glad we got Wario Pinball. Well, not Wario Pinball. Waluigi Pinball.
Waluigi Pinball.
See, it's a sequel to Waluigi Pinball.
Let me stick with that W right
now. Wario Pinball, where Wario is the pinball.
Now they need to make a Wario. They need to make a Wario pool table.
No, but just like 7 just like had like so many great things going on for it. I do really love the controls in Mario Kart 7, just like the drifting and everything, just as smooth as silk.
Oh yeah. And I'm gonna highlight a comment from Snezkov, because he said that despite that's the wrong comment. There was another comment that he had Actually, never mind. That was the comment.
Yeah.
What, despite Double Dash having very few cups?
All tracks are so well designed, and that's absolutely right.
Oh no, that's
I
100%
agree.
true.
I
Like,
agree.
Yeah.
like Mario Kart 64 and Mario Kart Double Dash, even though they both only had 16 tracks, they're probably some of the best tracks, the most memorable tracks
Oh
of the
yeah,
entire series.
Yeah, but I would say the best thing I liked about Mario Kart Double Dash, and I wish they would have done this for later games, but I guess it would be a bit too much, especially with 8 getting 96 tracks. Is I love having that all cups tour thing. It's
Yeah.
honestly the thing that I thought it would have been amazing to have, where you can just race all the tracks, even if they're randomized and out of order. But you always start with Luigi Circuit, but you always end with Rainbow Road. I
Yeah.
love how
Oh,
that
yeah.
went.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
I mean, that's not
something.
going to stop me from at least like speedrunning all 96 tracks after all the cups are out and making some speedrun records.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I
no,
gotta see
no,
that,
like,
man.
that's one thing that I still think they've got to add in a future Mario Kart game. Like, because like whenever you do like a versus mode, like either online or like local couch co-op, you have the option to do all of the courses in order. You can do
Mhm.
them randomly, or you can choose one at a time. And I'm just thinking to myself, nobody ever does the choose option because nobody ever wants to choose a race, race it, go back to menu. Choose a race, race, go back to menu. Like, I figure it would probably be better to replace that with like a playlist one.
That's
where
what I
you
was
can-
going to say. A
where
track
you can
playlist
choose-
is like long overdue.
Yeah.
yeah,
love
like
that.
like have it start with whichever course you want. You could have the rest of them just be random, and then the final course just choose Rainbow Road.
Mhm.
Like that, then you could just make your own all cup tour.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been amazing.
Like a race playlist. Also, being like adding more different types of races. Like we could still keep worldwide and regional, but also add like other ones where, if someone is not too skillful in Mario Kart, you could just join that. Or if you want to face against someone who is even more skilled than you are, and you dare to race them, you should be given the option to race them as well, if you want the challenge. Because that would be a nice thing they could do.
Well, also,
no.
having more spectator options would be good too. That way people can run more tournaments.
Oh yeah,
That's something that a lot more games really need to get behind.
yeah,
Yeah, like being able to have like 14 people in a thing, like have like 12 racers, but to have like 2 spectator slots.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And also
I'm
different
not
types
doing
of
that,
regular
though.
races also.
Oh
Like
yeah.
2 different types, like more different races also. Like if you're in last place at the end of the lap, you get eliminated until one person remains.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, that one. I love that one.
Yeah. I will say I do have other favorite kart racing games that's not just Mario Kart. Like I like Sonic and All Stars Racing Transformed a lot. To me,
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
still
yeah.
my favorite Mario Kart style game, or at a kart racer game that's not Mario Kart. That's, to me, that game set a standard that not even Team Sonic Racing could actually meet. Which that's not a bad game, but
No, it's not. But I really wish they didn't get rid of the All Stars aesthetic and water it down.
and
like,
the whole transform aesthetic, the whole gimmick that they had for it, it worked. Like it does remind you a bit of Diddy Kong Racing in a sense where you have like 3 different types of vehicles. You have like being able to like race like on the ground in a cart, like, or like whatever cart vehicle you have. You could be able to race on the water, or you could be able to race in the air, and you're able to transform each time depending on what type of race you're gonna do. So many different Sega themed racing stages, racing tracks in general.
Well, not only that, the set pieces in that game are phenomenal. Like the whole Skies of Arcadia thing, where you start off in the village and on the last lap it's completely destroyed.
Oh
You're
yeah,
just flying
Yeah.
through the entire air on the last lap.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, same,
Oh, yeah.
same thing
Or
with,
the
like,
Galactic
Panzer
Parade
Dragoon.
or the Galactic Parade in Sonic Colors too, which is really nice. Where the track literally just starts appearing in front of you and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like I've seen a lot of really good tracks with that game. The one thing that stood out, I haven't played a lot of the single player on Steam. I have played it a lot on Wii U when it came out. And one thing I noticed is that the Alex Kidd AI, for whatever reason, will always be super behind and does not put any effort into actually trying to catch up. I don't know why. I think they probably might have fixed it on the Steam version, but I'm gonna have to check if I ever go back to it. But yeah, like as far as other kart racing games go, I had fun with the single player portion of Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. I kind of like the original one more in terms of how fun it is. But for the remake, the single player is not bad. It's just, I will say, Pinstripe sucks. Pinstripe absolutely sucks.
Oh, listen, me and Epic can tell you firsthand that Pinstripe's boss battle will be a real kick in the nuts.
He is a fucking menace, let me tell you. With the
Yeah.
bombs going backwards, even then with bosses in CTR, if you're not in first place, you're in trouble because they will not rest up and not let you be in first again when they always try to put down the items over and over. Especially Oxide. Oxide, I thought I had.
Forget about Oxide. Yo, Oxide, I spent like a good hour when I was streaming that game a while back.
And let's not forget, he cheated. He freaking cheated. He
He
went
does
ahead
cheat,
of you when
He goes ahead of you, like, no.
Yeah, he goes ahead of you before the announcer says go. And
like,
once
what the hell, man? Like, what the hell? Come on, man.
Personally, I still have a harder time with Papu because of the red potions, too, because that
Oh, yeah.
and
red potions with him is annoying. And Komodo Joe's level with Dragon Mines having like bad design on it, like
and
I think... Oh, yeah, sorry.
I was gonna say, and the thing is that like the race that I had against Oxide, I beat him on my first try. After hours of trying to beat Pinstripe, I beat Oxide on my first try, and I was shocked.
That's hilarious.
I was like, what the heck? How the heck did you do this?
Actually, funny enough, I think for me it was kind of like the inverse. Just like the earlier bosses, I had like a harder time with, like Mapu Papu. I spent so much time just like trying that over and over and over again, like going up the pyramid section, which gets so narrow while also.
Papu's pyramid is one of those tracks where the design is not aged well.
Yeah.
Same with Dragon Mines. Like Pinstripe, but I love Hot Air Skyway, but yeah, the rolling bombs are still a frustrating thing to deal with.
Yeah. The Hot Air Skyway and the other one with Komodo Joe, I actually didn't have as much of a hard time with those two, but like Papu and then Nitrous Oxide at the end, those two.
Yeah.
And just to kind of like add on to like Shell, just like Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed is such a phenomenal game. Just like so many great characters, so many great courses, and just in line with Sonic, I think one game that none of us have mentioned yet, Sonic Robo Blast 2 Kart.
Yes.
Like,
that was a good one.
That is still a blast. We gotta do a session of that at some point.
We gotta go back to that in the future because that game is actually pretty fun. Being able to like just race with like up to 16 people, and you can use whatever kart you want.
Goes. It's literally like I keep calling it this. It's literally the Mugen of Mario Kart.
Yes, that's what it really is. But it's still a blast. But yeah. Like as far as other favorites go, that like those are like the main ones that I consider favorites. But I did add one topic that I would like to discuss before we go into the last topic of this.
Okay.
So most underrated racing games. So Mike.
I mean, we're gonna be here for another hour just by that. I can go on to some really weird, oddball ones that I think are underrated. Like I think CTR is honestly underrated because a lot of people kind of talk about it enough. 'Cause that's a really great one. But I was saving this in my back pocket. But Sonic R, like that game on the Saturn, is still a fantastic racing game. I don't care what anybody says; it's completely underrated. Like the soundtrack is a bop. I don't care if it doesn't belong. I don't care if you're racing on foot. It is a great game still.
Agreed. 100%.
Now, let's see. If I think about other underrated games, there's a lot of weird ones I could think of. Like Toy Story Racer on PS1's a pretty good one.
Haven't played that one.
Wrecking Balls on the N64, which is like a platform racer, but still has Mario Kart type items.
Wow.
I did play Toy Story Racer on the Game Boy Color, which was actually pretty solid.
Yo, Toy Story Racer on the Game Boy Color, like CTK told me about how much of a like slideshow that looked like.
I mean, just like despite it being like like on a weaker system, like it still looks like pretty decent. Like I mean, I know like maybe it doesn't like age well for us today, but for the time it was pretty solid.
Yeah.
Now, and then also Snowboard Kids 2, I'm going to put back out there again, because again, not a lot of people talk about it, but I think that was like a really well done game. I wish that Atlas would actually bring that series back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be
like,
nice.
they've been putting that in the back burner for a long time.
Even though this isn't technically a kart racer, I'm still putting this in here anyway. This is a weird one on Sega Dreamcast. Pen Pen Triathlon. Very weird platform racer where you just play as demented looking animals just sliding and like jumping and platforming through levels.
Oh wait, is that the one that you wait?
Yeah,
I
it
could've
probably
sworn
was.
I probably watched you play that before, but yeah.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it on my end though in terms of like the underrated games. I could go on and on with more of them, but we'd be here for like longer. But those are the main ones that stick in my mind.
Yeah. What about you, Epic Man?
Well, there was not a lot of car racing games I've played a lot when I was a kid, because mostly are just Mario Karts that I've been mostly playing with, alongside with some, I guess, some racing sim games like Gran Turismo 3 on the PS2. I played that back
Yeah.
then. But I'm gonna go with what Mike said earlier, which was CTR, Crash Team Racing. For me, that game was something that I didn't think that Naughty Dog would do for making a racing game like Crash after they made Crash 1, 2, and 3. And seeing how that game mechanically was different, and how the track design was different, and how everything was different, especially having the adventure mode, I feel like that one didn't get enough attention whenever I see people talking about racing games, because I've always looked into Mario Kart a lot because it's honestly the most recognizable and more memorable games out there for people to play on the old systems.
Yeah.
And CTR is honestly something that I wish people would have noticed back then before they brought it back into the modern generation. And I because the track design itself are really interesting and memorable with with all these um, with all these characters you play as with Crash, Coco, Polar, um, Nero, Cortex. I just can't help but like love with how much Naughty Dog want to put out their last triumphant before they even moved on
Yeah.
from doing Crash Bandicoot itself. And and of course, we already said about the bosses itself. They can be very annoying, but they can make you want to. They make you want to feel like you want to challenge yourself to see how much you can do as a kart racer, where you want to be better than anyone in the track. And they really helped me in some ways to get ahead of everyone, and it really elevates me for to become more for being a competitor, than how in Mario Kart, because Mario Kart it's fun, but somehow CTR feel like it's a bit harder than how Mario Kart is. Not because of the AI, it's because of the things they let you do for challenges. And I
Well,
think
not only that though, also like getting used to like the the unique drifting system. Also, I feel like the bosses did a good job of teaching you how to power slide and
Yeah.
do all the tricks as well, like jumping and then doing the turbo boost and all that other good stuff.
Oh
yes,
yeah.
and the turbo boost honestly felt really good when you had to use when you use R1 to drift, and you had to press the up button. When you pay attention to that meter in the bottom right where it goes red until before it reaches to the end, you keep drifting 3 times and you get the maximum boost. And that one, I thought that was a really clever way of drifting. But also the in the track designs, you also want to look into how shortcuts works, because I noticed in when CTR Nitro Fuel came out and multiplayer was around, yeah, people always keep using the shortcuts because it's how you get in front of everyone. And if you don't even know the shortcuts, you're always going to be behind and you're never going to catch up to everyone. So it really puts me up there for just to learn how tracks work and how a good way to cut corners and to find the best shortcut for you to get ahead of everyone. It's always puts me up to look into, becoming better than the track itself. And it just really wants me to become, well, better of a kart racer player than anyone. So I always practice every time whenever I want to see which track that I do worse, which track I want to put more work into. It always fascinates me that I wish more people would have seen how amazing Crash Team Racing did for players out there for becoming a really good kart racer. So yeah, CTR is my honestly most underrated game.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I mean, it seems like everybody just kind of like elevates each other. Just like the more you guys play with each other, just like you learn like all the different like facets about like the controls, the shortcuts, track layout. Um, yeah, no, I didn't get a chance to play the original, but still, like I know a lot of people who loved it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's always a good game to play in general. So Maple, what about you? What would you consider to be the most underrated racing games that you played?
Okay, most underrated. Well, one of them, like I'd have to give a shout out to Blur. I know I was just saying like that one's like probably like my favorite one, but just like I feel like that one just got overshadowed by the fact that it came out at like literally like the same time as like two other racers. One of them being what was it? It was
But second,
yeah, Split Second. And just
Yeah,
like everybody was gushing about Split Second, there were so many people who were talking, like saying, just like, "Oh, Split Second is so much better than Blur." But I'm just like, have you even played Blur? Like the track layouts in that game are so great. You have so many versatile power ups to work with. The mod system when you play online just adds to the insanity.
yeah,
Um, and just like the general like vibes, like the aesthetic, just kind of like the whole like neon aesthetic that they kind of have with like a lot of the menus and everything. It's really charming. It's really nice. Um, and yeah, no, just like I wish the game got like a lot more attention because I feel like it definitely deserved it. Like and it unfortunately also came out at around the same exact time as Mod Nation Racers, which is
yes,
another one of my personal favorite kart racers. Yeah, no, but yeah, Blur is definitely up there. Another one that I feel was underrated, I'd probably say F-Zero GX, since that one was really overshadowed by Mario Kart Double Dash. Mario Kart Double Dash, like if I had to choose between two of them, like gun pointed at my head, I'd have to go with Double Dash, strictly because of how much fun it is to play multiplayer with others in that game. Single player is really good. Multiplayer is just balls to the wall insane, especially 4 player baby park frantic mode. Nothing
all
else like it.
special items.
all special items. Yes,
Yeah,
Hmm.
oh my god. Bowser shells, chain chomps, ball bombs, everything. But
yeah,
Giant bananas.
The
yep.
chaos is real.
Um
indeed.
but but yeah, no, just like F-Zero GX was just such a finely polished game. Like the controls in it were so fine-tuned compared to like the one that came out on N64. I've only played a little bit of the N64 version since it became available on Switch.
Hmm.
Um but yeah, no, like from what I've heard, like the transition from X to GX was such a huge leap. Like you had like the story mode missions, which were all tough as hell, but they taught you so much about the game's mechanics. How to take out like enemy drivers in Chapter 4 against the Michael Chang's gang. You had the one-on-one with Deathborn in one of the final chapters. You had the F-Zero Grand Prix, which was tough as nails against Black Shadow and Blood Falcon. Um, so many great characters too that like each of them had their own like little mini movies and everything that you could unlock. But yeah, that one, and then finally, which I know this one's probably going to be a hot take, but
Hmm.
I gotta say Mario Kart Super Circuit is just like I love that game so much, and
I'm not
like
gonna
like
fight
like
you against that,
yeah,
honestly.
yeah, no, like amongst like the older like Mario Kart games, as weird as it may sound, Super Circuit is the one that I find myself coming back to more often than any of the other older Mario Kart games,
Hmm.
strictly for the fact
Hmm.
that the game's difficulty is at a perfect point. Like it's not too easy like in some of the later games. Double Dash is great, but I feel like one of the few shortcomings it has is that the AI might be a little too easy. And then
Hmm.
like some of the earlier Mario Kart games like Super Mario Kart and Mario Kart 64 suffer from the whole rubber banding issue with the AI.
Hmm.
Yes,
Hmm.
But then like Super Mario, well, not Super Mario Kart Super Circuit, like the AI do they might speed up a little bit if you get like really far ahead, but like if you can like maintain your drifting, you can like keep up with like all the get all your the boost pads and everything. You can honestly just like leave them in the dust and even outrun spike shells and red shells if you can actually keep that up.
mm.
Um, but yeah, no, just like a really great game. I thought that like the tracks were really interesting. I know Mode 7 like really hindered it, but like they were really ambitious with like a lot of the tracks and like everything that was put together. I just wish the multiplayer was a little more accessible. That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
fair.
agree. Hmm.
Yeah. So underrated racing game, kart, or at least kart racing games for me. Like, I will say though that I like the original Chocobo Racing, not the new one. The new one is
Okay.
not that great, but the original one was actually fine. It was actually a decent racing game that I played, like a kart racer, where like with Chocobos, like it was on PlayStation.
You know, it's funny. I actually got a chance to try that out. It was very interesting with the way it controlled.
Yeah, they were trying some different things compared to other kart racers, and I thought it was fun. Was it the best kart racing game of that generation? No, but I still think it was fun and still worth playing the game. Like I honestly enjoyed Mega Man Battle and Chase, which never made it to North American shores until the Mega Man X collection on GameCube and PS2, because they planned to release it, and for whatever reason, it was never released. No one knows exactly why, but I tried it, and it's actually pretty good. I felt that it could have done alright if they would have released it. It was only on PlayStation, or at least the original game. But because obviously everybody at that point had to have a racing game. Like Sonic had one, Crash Bandicoot had one. Of course, Mario had multiple, so Mega Man had to have one too.
Oh, hey, now you think about, you reminded me of Chocobo Racing, another underrated PS1 game that was actually a really interesting kart racer, even though it was on karts. Bomberman Fantasy Race had a really interesting one also, where you're racing on the Louis that Bomberman used to ride on top of.
Yeah, I think
That was a very interesting one, aesthetic-wise and control-wise on that one also.
Yeah, I think I tried that last year, like when I did the kart racing retro night. Because that was actually pretty good. Like you have to.
Yeah, no, because it was very interesting with all the different like the specialty platforms that you had to hop off of to get a boost, and figuring out how to like use the boosting system. Also, it was very interesting.
Oh yeah, it was. I felt that was actually a good way to get Bomberman into the racing genre. I will say I did try out Mickey Speedway USA, and I thought it was actually pretty good. I feel like, in terms of the mechanics, I feel like the mechanics are a lot more refined compared to Diddy Kong Racing, and in terms of the characters and like the settings, I feel like I'd say there's a little bit more track variety in terms of like the layout of the track compared to Diddy Kong Racing. But
yeah, that's fair.
I still need to play a little more of it. Like, in fact, I know I'm going to be doing a stream of that soon, thanks to you, Mike.
Yeah, but I was going to just say, man, Mickey Speedway is definitely another underrated one on the N64. And I'm glad I got enough points to make you to try it out, because once you start finding those car parts, those last two cups are going to be a real gut punch.
Oh yeah.
Maple knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, actually, isn't Matt also going to be playing that, or no? Like,
yeah, also right. We also made him. We also both saved up points to make him play both of those too.
Oh yeah, totally. And I want to highlight something because Snezkov wanted me to mention something for him. Let me see. Where it was? Oh yeah, right here. So he wanted me to mention a racing game that he absolutely loves, which is My Sims Racing. I've never actually played it, but I've seen it. He was talking in the chat about how it has a lot of customization. I don't know if it was like the earliest example of one, but it did have it though. It doesn't look bad. It wasn't really my type of thing for me personally, but I know for a fact that I absolutely loved a couple of other kart racing games in general, but for me, I never played it, so I can't really comment, but it actually looks interesting, Seskov. But yeah, there is one other thing I wanted to bring up for underrated. There were 2 racing games that were on the PlayStation that were like very early in its life cycle, but only one of those actually came out here. These games were known as the Motor Toon Grand Prix games.
That's another good one.
We got the second one here, but they called it Motor Toon Grand Prix. Though during Europe, it was still called Motor Toon Grand Prix 2, despite the fact that in Europe, the first one never released. And
wait a minute, you talking about the one that was like one of the levels was at a toy store and the other one was like on the beach and whatever, and the other one was in the city?
I think so, but I know for a fact that it was like this, because like the aesthetic was like all characters were cartoons, like different.
Yeah, right. The cars stretched out and stuff, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah, no. So I guess I did play the second one. I guess I never played the first one then.
yeah, and the funny thing about it is the company that made this, although Sony published it, the company that made this would go on to make the Gran Turismo series.
It's really interesting. I think you told me that a few times.
Yeah, it's interesting how like they jump from something like that all the way to just making simulated racing games and like actually excelling at that.
Yeah, I think I remember you mentioning that. Yeah, no, it's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Did I?
Also, also going off of Snezkov's comment, yeah, I also played Pac-Man World Rally. That was a very interesting one. The fact that you got to collect the Pac dots and then try to fill up your Pac-Man meter to actually become like a legit Pac-Man, and all the other opponents turn into ghosts and stuff.
Don't think I've ever played
that. The
that.
final course being the freaking retro maze itself, which honestly,
Oh damn.
yeah, though it's okay as a track, but it's freaking weird as a race course.
I can imagine how crazy that is.
Yeah.
For maze. Okay.
Oh
Yeah.
god, that just sounds insane.
I do want to mention one more underrated. I just popped in my head, if you guys don't mind.
All right.
Oh yeah.
So, I really completely forgot about this because this game was honestly I thought was more really fun and unique for creativity. And I know you guys probably ever heard of this one called Mod Nations Racing.
Yeah.
The
Mod Nation Racers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that game I never ever had the chance to play when it was out, but for some reason when Sony wanted to get another racing game for their platform and they wanted to get a new Mod Nations racing game, but they didn't do it. They made one for the PS Vita, but the one they did made that was going to be for the sequel, they turned it into for the Little Big Planet series.
Oh, Little Big Planet karting. Yes, I remember that.
Karting. I loved that game when it was out because when I was playing all of the Little Big Planet games, I always wondered if they ever would do something different than just doing platforming. And since they've done it with different genres for the second game, where you can pretty much make whatever games you want, not just a platformer, so they decided to make a racing game, full 3D. It's like the first ever 3D Little Big Planet they ever have done, and you can just pretty much make whatever racing track you want. And I played a lot of their community racing tracks where I legit seen a lot of recreations of some of the memorable Mario Kart. Where I seen one for Calamari Desert, Rainbow Road. Like these tracks, they really made them from top to bottom the same recreations, and you can even recreate with the items too. Where like because in their baseline of how their items works, they kind of work the same way how you would in a Mario Kart, where you have a green shell, but it's a rocket. A red shell for is a rocket. They have this. They have their own bullet bill, and they also have a fast forwarding button where you can just skip ahead of everyone by using a fast forwarding button, and like all of these items were the same like how you would see in Mario Kart, but you can actually customize the items to make them look different than how they were in Little Big Planet Karting originally. So you can just pretty much customize those or the UI or just pretty much literally anything to make the game feel like you're in a different game. And I thought those were really awesome where they just made like that. And it just makes me wish that they would have done more with it because sadly they didn't even manage to keep it up when they had to shut down the servers later on.
Oh yeah.
And nobody could be able to play those anymore, especially with people just wanting to keep making these levels. And it's even sadder too with the original and the second and the other Little Big Planet games. They've been recently shut down because of issues with the servers, and they couldn't even be able to keep up. I mean, luckily they only kept up Little Big Planet 3, even though that one is also having issues and stuff. But regardless, it was amazing how they would have kept up, but I wish they would have done more with it because Little Big Planet Karting is honestly something that I wish that maybe if in the future we would have another customizable creativity of a racing game, because you can just do whatever you want.
Oh
Like
yeah,
really, I just wish they
Yeah,
could have done more with it. Like maybe if Nintendo would ever look into that, maybe they can give us something like a Mario Kart Maker.
yeah,
Like I would have a really fun dream
I
about it.
forget about if there was ever a Mario Kart maker, the three of us would be making some really wild tracks.
yeah. No, definitely.
Oh yeah.
I
Honestly, like
feel like
yeah.
I
Oh
was
yeah,
gonna
Shell, go
say I
first.
feel like it's gonna be a long time before we ever get that because I wonder like just exactly like how would they actually go about it if they were to ever do a Mario Kart Maker.
That would be incredible. I would go all in on that. I mean, like, even though I was talking about how like Blur may have been like outshined by Mod Nation Racers and Split Second, I feel like all three of them kind of suffered the same fate that they didn't really survive that long past our original release. Mod Nation Racers servers were up for a while, but I think they were taken down like a while ago. But like,
Mm-hmm.
I remember spending so much time playing that game. Like it was one of those racing games that actually included a story mode to it, like kind of like in the same vein as Diddy Kong Racing and Crash Team Racing, and
Yeah,
just like it was so there was so much going on with like the track building, character building. You could design your own race cars and everything, and like it was one of those few like toony like kart racers that was actually thriving that didn't really rely on an already existing IP. Because
Hmm.
like a lot of like really successful kart racers are already based on already existing characters. You got Mario Kart, you got Sonic, you got Crash Team Racing, which already has Crash, and then for the sequel with Mod Nation Racers, I guess they wanted to try and kind of like keep it up with like with the notoriety of Little Big Planet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I think just I guess like it didn't really take it far enough for it to thrive, I guess.
yeah,
And
Possibly, I
from
think.
what I had heard from some people who played the game, it didn't actually have as much as many tools for like really like track making as in like Mod Nation Racers did, which was one of the reasons why I didn't go in on it because just like I loved Mod Nation Racers so much,
yeah.
but yeah, no, like I know a lot of people did like really enjoy like Little Big Planet racing, and I'm hoping that like at some point we can see something in like the same vein to Mod Nation Racers and Little Big Planet karting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
Oh
think
yeah,
that
for
would that
sure.
would be good
we'll
stuff.
just see how everything is gonna go in the future with that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we have one last topic that I want to bring up today, and that's how have kart racing games shaped your love for video games? So, Mike, you go first.
Well, like I've said throughout this entire thing, like Mario Kart 64 pretty much is the game that got me into gaming in the first place. Like, I still have memories of opening up my N64 on Christmas Day, unboxing the classic red N64 controller, Mario Kart 64, and just being hooked since then. So, I mean, if it wasn't for Mario Kart, I wouldn't even be here. Like, legit, also between that and Mario Kart 7 having a huge impact on my life, also. Like, if it wasn't for Mario Kart 7, like, Shell, I don't think we wouldn't be as close as we are now, also. So it's
Yeah,
like, car racers, like, have a special place in my heart because, it's just kept me going with gaming in general, and it's what got me into gaming in the first place. So, car racers are always going to have a special place in my heart, and it's always made me appreciate, like, how far video games have come in general.
yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Epic Man?
So I would say car racing games are like part of it, because what really brought me into gaming is platforming games.
Yeah,
But car racing games only thrives it to make me want to do more, like I said before. Because Mario Kart is like, I'd say, the first type of game that it makes me want to become a competitive person in a way. I like to see myself win. I want to see how good I can get. I want to know like all the tricks and the tips, because I've looked into other videos like with speed runnings, and like I've seen like lots of YouTube videos about how people would just do certain tricks to like get in the head of everyone else.
yeah,
It's really makes me want to see like how much I can do with that, but maybe if I could do it in my own spin where I can like figure out how to cut corners and just, see what I can do in order to like look into techniques and ways to like how to get this person, like how with items in Mario Kart, where I have always practiced so much about with different games about how to throw an item and to have that sense of trajectory of where to aim it and where to land on that person right in front of you, because it takes me a long time to like perfect that, even if I had some misses here and there. But it just, I had to get practicing to like see how I can aim towards somebody with the item to get them behind.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like it's just, it makes me want to become more better for being a gamer than just how I play with platforming games or RPGs or any other genres that I've been trying to get into.
Yeah.
So I would say it makes me want to become more better as a player and as a person too, because I like to become, competitive, but also want to be friends with people too, because we always have a good time no matter what we do, even if it drives us insane, because how Mario Kart can always makes us mad at each other.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
100%.
Always.
Like
Always.
freaking blue shells. Oh my god,
The
friendship
lightning.
ending.
The
Oh
lightning
boy,
striking.
it's
Yeah.
it's just, man, Mario
Yeah.
Kart ends your life, bro. You haven't seen anything, man. You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, no, I don't think in terms of like friendship breaking games, like I think Mario Kart is definitely up there, but I don't think it holds a candle to Mario Party. That game's a real friendship breaker.
Oh no, believe me, for Mario Party, it definitely is the top king of friendship breakers. But for Mario Kart, it's just like their skills involved more for sure. Mario Party, there's some things for that for skills, but it is always going to be something where you hope for the chance of you getting the amount of coins to get to the star and to see how many spaces you need in order to get to the star. Like you wish for the best, but Mario Kart, you're the best, but with some luck as items.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that is going to be my take on how that elevates my gaming.
Yeah. Before we go into you, Maple, I just want to bring up a comment because Neskov talked about how much he loves playing Mario Kart Wii online because it totally blew his mind when he was a kid that he could play with real people online, which for me, like my first experience with that was Mario Kart DS, and just being able to play online with other people from around the world was insane at the time. Like just
I remember, I remember my first experience. Like I played, I think it was actually at like a McDonald's because I remember they were like promoting, McDonald's has Wi-Fi connections so you can play Mario Kart DS with friends.
Really?
And I remember just like sitting in the drive-through waiting for my chicken nuggies.
Oh my god.
or it's like no, because like
No,
Alright.
I don't know if that's what I was actually waiting for, but still, I just had to make that.
I can
joke.
imagine the employees are like looking at you saying, "Is your kid having fun with Mario Kart?
Funny-
Here's your chicken nuggets."
funny- What's funny
No,
about that?
But yeah, no, it was a great time
Yeah,
playing
like
Mario Kart DS online.
yeah. What's funny about that was I actually went to a McDonald's in Manhattan because we were at the Manhattan Mall, just doing some shopping, and my brother was playing Mario Kart online at that McDonald's, and it was insane how we did that. And later that day, we ended up getting a router just so we can be able to play online through Wi-Fi. So yeah. But yeah, Maple. Now same thing for you. How have kart racing games shaped your love for video games?
Oh boy. Well, I mean, like with Kart Racers, just like again, just like pretty much when I first started playing video games, like Kart Racers were just about all I played. I mean, I did play like a little bit of like Super Mario Land and Tetris on the original Game Boy, and like a handful of other games on the Game Boy Color. But like on N64, again, like it was like nonstop Mario Kart 64, Diddy Kong Racing, Mickey Speedway USA, like every day.
Yeah.
And maybe like every once in a while, I think I did pick up like Destruction Derby on the N64 too,
Yes.
which was a fun time. But yeah, no, just like with like kart racing games, just like one of the things that just like makes the genre so special is just again just how accessible like a lot of these games can be. Like the mechanics are easy to pick up, difficult to master, so it just like it really has like a pretty low skill floor and a fairly high skill ceiling depending on like which game you're talking about. Like I know some games like don't really like some games are a little bit more regulated than others. Like Mario Kart 64 or just like Mario Kart games in general, like they're like heavy on that. It's just like if you're doing really well, we're gonna pellet you with spike shells. You're gonna have to deal with people with SARS coming up on you. But like with other games like Crash Team Racing, like Like, you don't have to deal with like stuff like that. I mean, if other people get like enough Wumpa fruit to like shoot like leveled up items at you, okay, it might be a harder time, but like it's a little bit easier for people who are like really, really skilled at the game to like really excel and just like crush the competition. Which, I mean, it's kind of a dichotomy. It's just like you have those people who really love having the freedoms of like being able to like do whatever you want and just like absolutely using every tool at your disposal to just like crush everybody, which is great for people who want to like really build up their skills and like really get invested in a game, but it might also be like a little deterring for people who are kind of new to kart racers, and it might push some people away. So it's just like you have some people who might like a little more of a balanced approach with Mario Kart, and some people who might want like a little, you know, little more hands off, like, you know, just like let me do what I want with CTR. Like and I usually find myself in the same, like in the boat of like Mario, like with the Mario Kart system, because just like I like it when like when I play with people, like especially playing with my siblings, I like it when like everyone feels like, you know, they have a shot at winning, just like, and like, you know, if I end up getting hit by, you know, a red shell, a spike shell, lightning, and I end up losing, then you know, so somebody else gets a chance to win. I mean, I don't have to win 100% of the races. Like I still manage to win like 75% of the races. I'll let them have the other 25.
Yeah.
Oh,
Always.
that's being gracious, aren't you, Maple?
Yeah.
No. But still, I don't win that much, especially like when I'm racing up against like some of you guys here. Just like shit, just like Mike. I know you were crushing it when we did the Kart Fest Ultimate back in April. Like you finished like in the top spot in like 2 out of the 3 tournaments that we did, and like almost getting first on the last one. So just like absolutely crushing it. And Epic, like you're just insane with like those item power-ups. Just like really.
Oh,
like,
listen, Epic
utilizing
just
the
gets
bomb
lucky.
I don't know how I got that bomb.
You really wish that I could get those bombs in first place all the time.
Just-
Come on, ask Nintendo. They're the ones that control everything. I had no.
I know, but I just love that that's our inside joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
It's so fun.
but just for the kart racers, just like how it's kind of cultivated like my love for gaming. I just love having just like a fun time with others. Like I love kind of like the aesthetic of just like a very like welcoming game with like colorful characters, and just like having like everybody like, you know, like have their shot at like winning, and like feeling like, you know, like they're really in it with like everybody else.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So for me, like in regards to how it shaped me, while I've always been into video games, but kart racing was definitely a genre that I go back to and have a good time with. Whether if I just want to practice by myself, or if I want to just jump into a game with friends, or with a random group of people online just to test my skills to see how well I can actually do. And there are times in which that things will go really well, and other times not so well, but that's okay, because I still have a great time. I still have fun playing like Mario Kart, Sonic and All-Stars and all that, even like stuff like Sonic Robo Blast 2 Kart, like stuff like that. I absolutely have a fantastic time with them. And to me, what I want to do is I want to push myself to just not only keep playing them, but get better at them, depending on the game. Like I know, like for Mario Kart, since I played that a lot, I definitely want to get better at the game. Of course, I know for a fact that there are times where I do well on my own. It's just, compared to you three, you guys are easily, like, always on top. And I do what I can to try to catch up as much as I can.
Yeah, no. Honestly, just like when you have a kart racer where even if like you don't finish first place like consistently, or like even if like maybe you're like in the middle of the pack like consistently, but you still have a fun time with it.
Yeah.
Like you know you have like a special game right there.
Yeah.
And like I've had situations like those in like certain racing games where like I might not have won like most of the races, but hey, I still had fun with like the carnage and destruction of like all the power-ups and everything, and that's all that matters to me.
Oh yeah, totally.
Oh, yeah.
It's like how like I wouldn't have met Mike if it wasn't for that Mario Kart 7 tournament we did a long time ago, and how Maple, I've met you at Anime Next during that like Mario Kart 8 tournament. Like the game was just still new at the time. Like I met you and I met both your sisters there at the same time. It was a great time, great tournament, a lot of fun. I may not have won it, but I still had a blast with it regardless. And just meeting you was definitely something that I'm really happy for, and will always be grateful for that. And EpicMan, like, because I first heard about you like in 2017, because like I think you because I've seen you on Facebook in some groups, and I would see like you posting about like the games you liked, and especially with Mario Kart when Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was coming out, and then you joined us. We were playing like on Monday, back when we used to play Monday nights with Switch and Play.
I was going to mention about that.
And you were always on top all the time.
Oh my god!
And then it's like just seeing you and always on, either always on top or among the top players. Still, regardless, win or lose, still had fun playing with you too. Like all three of you.
Like
I know. It's alright. Just like the Shell's point, just like us meeting up at Anime Next for that one Mario Kart 8 tournament. Don't count yourself. Don't sell yourself short with like the Mario Kart skills, because if I remember right, I think you moved on to the finals in that tournament when we met, and I got eliminated in the semifinals. So.
Yeah, like
you are still a skilled kart racer.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Has to be somehow friggin' Mario Kart 7. I won that entire tournament back in 2011 with no items. I still don't understand how you guys did that.
I don't remember how, like, I don't know, like, how we agreed to that, but I can tell you right now, like, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, I will never host a Mario Kart tournament without items ever again. Like, I had
listen, I remember that we did a second Mario Kart tournament at one point, and in the finals there was a tie, so I'm like, you know what, 200cc Mario Kart Deluxe's Rainbow Road, no items, mushrooms only.
Oh god. You know what? Having a Mario Kart game without items is like eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich without jelly. It's uncomfortable and it's salty.
Hey, listen, I actually like peanut butter sandwiches, so...
I mean, it's essentially in the same sense where you can just pretty much play a racing sim game right now, where you just have nothing else going on. Like that's what it essentially feels like.
It's like
yeah, but you're not playing Mario Kart for video racing sim.
It's
I know, but
like Mario Kart. Mario Kart without items is like the Three Stooges without Curly or Mo.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's basically like how like kart racing games have shaped someone like me. I have actually had a great time playing a lot of them, and yeah, but yeah, overall, great discussion, great talk in regards to kart racing games. Before we sign off, Mike, where can we find you?
You guys can find me, as it always is, MMGMike22 on Twitter, MMGMike on Twitch, all that good stuff. And yeah, I'm also part of Weapon of Choice Gaming, and yeah, if you guys like Mario Kart, stay tuned. I might be hosting some Mario Kart tournaments for cash prizes, and even some other free ones also, so if y'all like Mario Kart, stay tuned.
Yep. Alright, what about you, EpicMan? Where can we find you?
Find me, it's not that hard. Honestly, I've been always going on to Twitter. I've been just like looking at people's posts and whatnot, looking at artworks. You can find me on TheEpicMan World. That's my handle on Twitter. For Twitch, I've always played with a variety of games. Soon I'm going to be playing Splatoon 3 with multiplayer. So you can find me on twitch.tv/TheEpicMan World.
Mm-hmm.
That is my URL. So look out for that whenever I talk about that on my Twitter when I announce it when I'm alive. Right. So yeah, that is how you find me.
Sounds good. And Maple, what about you? Where can we find you?
Before I say that, I just gotta say, you do not want to miss Epic playing Splatoon. As skilled as we've been talking about him being in Mario Kart, this dude is a beast in Splatoon.
Yes,
no joke. You guys gotta watch him. But yeah, no, you guys can catch me, MoonlitMaple, over on twitch.tv/MoonlitMaple. I also put out tweets on Twitter, MoonlitMaple. And you guys can also hop in the Discord if you guys ever want to just learn more about what I'm going to be streaming, what's coming up. And yeah, no, just looking forward to having a lot more fun doing like the weekly multiplayer streams. I'm currently doing like a co-op playthrough of V Rising together with Mike and a few other friends from the Digital Bonfire group. And then we have our monthly Kart Fests. If anybody here is down for some Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, we got those big team tournament games. Again, this month's theme is going to be Xbox versus PlayStation, which is going to be it's going to be intense. I'm sure of it.
Oh yeah.
And then I think a little inside thing between us. We all know what next month's theme is going to be for October.
Yeah, it was one that won by 2 points, and that's gonna be hilarious if we can make that
Oh, the
happen again.
rematch. Yeah.
The rematch.
We're actually going to go back to that, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's undeniable.
But I will vouch for all the Kart Fests that Maple has hosted within the past, 3 years, actually. It's been 3 years. So if you have, I will say this, make sure to go follow Maple if you want to participate in all future Kart Fests, because believe me, they're a lot of fun. And each theme is always different, but I highly recommend it.
Pumpkins versus Starbucks. Leave us alone. Let us live.
There we go.
I want to live.
Why not have pumpkin spice coffee? That's the problem solved right there.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And in a few months, Wholesome Stream replaced Conquer's Bad Fur Day.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. That's the way it is. All right. And yeah, Kevin, you just came in as we're about to wrap up because it is that time. But yeah, you can find me obviously at ShellshockPrime across all social medias. I will be doing another episode of Sharing with Shellshock every week as much as I can throughout the rest of the fall season of this year. Where I have a few themes planned, but stay tuned for next week's theme, which will be pro wrestling, which will have Xeno Awesome Gaming and Silverstone Condor for that one. That'll be next week at 8 p.m. Eastern. So hopefully you guys can tune in for that. But yeah, so that's going to do it. So I'll see you guys next time for the next Sharing with Shellshock. So take care, everybody.
Take care, guys.
Night.
Bye-bye.